Have you ever wished a perfect day could last forever? The kind of day where the sun feels like it's hugging your shoulders, the air smells like warm clover, and the whole world seems to hum with a lazy, happy tune? That's exactly how the summer felt in a little meadow where our story begins. A meadow where one carefree grasshopper thought the warmth would never fade, and one determined ant knew it always would. The grass was tall and golden, swaying like waves under a deep blue sky. Bees hovered over blossoms, their hum like a steady bass line to the music of the season. And right in the center of it all sat Luca, a grasshopper with wings that shimmered like emerald glass and legs built for bounding through the air. But more than jumping, more than anything, Luca loved to play. Tucked under his arm was a tiny fiddle, its body carved from birch bark, its strings spun from spider silk. Every morning he would lean against a dandelion stalk, close his eyes, and draw the bow across the strings. The notes floated on the warm breeze, as light as petals, weaving themselves into every corner of the meadow. The mice would sway in time, the bees hummed along. Even the fox, sly as he was, would pause his hunt to listen to the gentle sadness that sometimes crept into Luca's songs. To Luca, summer was a gift meant only for joy, and joy was meant to be shared. Not far beneath the very same dandelion, Ada the ant was hard at work. Her days started with the sun and ended when the stars came out, each hour spent hauling crumbs, seeds, and leaves back to her colony. Her legs were small, but her determination was endless. Every trip was a step toward survival. She looked at the bright sky, the flowers in bloom, and heard the music. But to her, they weren't just beautiful. They were reminders that these days wouldn't last. Ada knew winter would come. It always did. One afternoon, as Ada struggled past with a crumb twice her size, Luca waved lazily from his perch. "Come sit a while," he called, his voice warm and playful. "The breeze is perfect. I'll play something just for you." Ada didn't stop. "Summer doesn't last forever, Luca. We have to prepare while we can." He grinned and played a twinkling run of notes. "You worry too much. Look at this day. Feel that sun. We're alive. Shouldn't that be enough for now?" But Ada only dipped her head politely and kept moving, the weight of her crumb bouncing over the grass. The days rolled on. The sun still shone, but each evening it slipped away just a little sooner. The bees flew more slowly. The flowers didn't open quite as wide. Still, Luca played. Still, Ada worked. Then one morning, a yellow leaf drifted lazily down from a branch above and landed between them. Ada looked up. The air had a new edge to it, a whisper of cold. She doubled her pace, her tiny feet pressing deeper into the earth. Luca saw it too, but instead of working, he played louder, his bow dancing frantically over the strings, as if he could hold the summer in place with sound alone. "You still have time," Ada said softly as she passed him. "Tomorrow," Luca replied, his smile tight around the edges. But tomorrow arrived with frost crusting the grass. The next day brought empty branches where leaves had been, and soon the first snow fell, soft, cold, and uninvited. The meadow, once alive with buzzing and song, lay silent under a gray sky. Luca's fiddle strings had cracked from the cold, his bow useless. His belly ached with hunger. His legs, stiff from the chill, barely carried him as he hopped through the drifts. The clover was gone. The flowers were gone. Even the air felt sharp enough to bite. He thought of Ada, of her steady, quiet work, of the way she had always moved with purpose. He wished now that he'd listened. But wishing couldn't fill his stomach, and he wasn't sure he'd make it through the night. Then, through the snow, he saw it, a small hole in the earth, one he had watched Ada disappear into day after day in the warm months. With the last of his strength, he tapped at the frozen edge. Inside, the tunnels glowed softly with lantern light. Ada, busy arranging neat stacks of seeds, heard the faint knock. She brushed away the snow and found him there, trembling, eyes dull, his wings heavy with frost. Without hesitation, she reached out and pulled him in. The warmth wrapped around him like a blanket the moment he stepped inside. He collapsed on the smooth earthen floor, too tired to speak. Ada fetched a little honey water, wrapped him in curled leaves, and gave him just enough crumbs to settle his hunger. She didn't scold. She didn't remind him of her warnings. She simply cared for him. The days outside turned brutal. Snow piled high. The wind screamed across the meadow. Inside, Luca slept and sipped and thought. In the quiet, the truth of Ada's words settled into his heart. One evening, while the tiny hearth glowed and fireflies drifted lazily above, he looked at her. "I'm sorry," he said softly. Ada set down her work. "I know." "I didn't believe the cold would come," Luca murmured. "I thought there would always be time." "I know," she said again, her tone gentle, not sharp. He glanced around at the shelves, each one stacked neatly with food she had gathered. "You worked so hard, and I just played." Ada's antennae twitched in something like a smile. "You made the summer sweeter for all of us. Your music reminded us to enjoy what we had while we had it. That matters too." Luca looked up, surprised. "It does?" "It does," she said. "But winter still comes, no matter how lovely the song. Next time, maybe you'll play in the mornings and gather in the afternoons." He smiled then, small but real. "Next time." Winter passed slowly, but spring came, as it always does. The meadow thawed, and green crept back into every corner. Flowers stretched their faces to the sun, and the bees returned with their golden hum. One bright morning, a familiar melody floated on the air, soft and cheerful, the kind of tune that makes the grass seem greener and the sky seem bluer. Luca sat beside his fiddle, now mended, and beside him lay a small, tidy pile of seeds and crumbs. And there, in the sun, Ada sat for once without moving, her legs tucked under her, simply listening to the music. They had found their balance, work and wonder, planning and play. Luca still filled the air with songs, but he also filled his stores for the days ahead. Ada still worked, but she allowed herself moments to rest, to watch the clouds drift, to let the music in. Because life, they had learned, isn't meant to be only one or the other. The future matters. But so does the moment you're in right now. And if you can carry a little of each, preparation in one hand, joy in the other, you'll be ready for whatever season comes next. So if you've ever been tempted to put something off because the sunshine feels too good to waste, that's fine. Just make sure you tuck away a crumb or two for later. After all, summer always fades. But so does winter. Like, comment and subscribe for more magical tales. And tell me, if you were in that meadow, would you spend the day playing your song or gathering for tomorrow?